Hello, my name is Lisa Shea, and today we're going to look at folding an origami flower, specifically the traditional kind of shape which makes either an iris or a lily. This is the exact same set of folds. The only difference is that in this one the petals are left flat, and in this one the petals are curved around a pencil so that they have more of the lily kind of shape. And my hands are a bit shaky. I had put off working on any origami folding at all for a while because I was thinking that I should just give up on all of it because of my shaky hands, and then I decided, I might as well finish up my project of updating all my old videos to have them with the newer quality camera and so on, so I have everything caught up as best as I can. And if my hands are a little shaky, maybe that will encourage people who have shaky hands or who are new at this to give it a try anyway, because if I can do it with shaky hands, then you can all do it. So what you need is a square piece of paper, and usually use a pipe cleaner for this to use as the stem. You can see that it just sticks up in the center of it. So you spear this down through the flower so that you have something to hold it. I like to use pipe cleaners because they're inexpensive and they come in bunches of different colors, but you can use pencils if you're giving it to a writer friend, or you can use the kind of floral wire that they use for making silk flowers and artificial flowers, whatever you want to. And I suppose you could do it without anything at all and just have this sitting in the top of a shot glass or something like that if you want to. I happen to like them with stems on them. But whatever you choose, it is up to you. Alright, so let's get started. Start with a square piece of paper, and you put the pattern side down. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take one point and have it come up to the second point. And it doesn't matter which point you choose because it's all symmetrical. So any particular point will work. So we're going to take one of these points. We're going to bring it up to touch the opposite point. If you hold that and then slide your fingers down towards the crease, that gets it started. And then you could drag a finger in one way and then drag a finger in the other way, and that way you know that everything comes out square. So if I can do this with shaky hands, you guys can do this with tenuous hands or whatever other kinds of challenges that you're having. So now we're going to take one of the two long points, it doesn't matter which one, and bring it over to touch to the opposite long point. So we're going to lift this up, bring this over to touch that one. It takes you a little bit to get it to match. That is fine, it doesn't matter. Hold that down, drag your fingers down to get to the crease, and then drag in one direction and drag in the other direction. Alright, now you've got a triangle. You've got a triangle with an open side, and you've got 2 points. So now you're going to take one of the long points that we were just working with, and we are going to fold it down to touch the top point. So what you do is if you push on the spine, it should start to bow open. So here, we'll do it from this side too so you can see. If you push on the spine, it should start to bow open and come down like that. So we are going to gently push on the spine, get it to come down, and we are aiming for that top to touch down at the other point that was beneath it. If we drag our finger back, we get that crease done. Drag it one way, drag it the other way, and now we have made a square. This shape is symmetrical, so now we're going to turn this over. We have the other triangle piece here. Now what I'd like to do is first make a preliminary fold just to make the squashing part easier. So I'm going to lift this up and point this towards the ceiling, and then I'm going to fold it down in the opposite direction. And we're just doing this to make the folding part a little easier. So just temporarily fold it down in the other direction and give it a little crease. And now it should stand up much easier, pointing towards the ceiling. And if we give it a push on its spine like that, it should fold open just like the other side did. So we're just making that fold down like that. So we push on the spine and get this point to come down to point to the top of all of them there. Crease that center, and then slide our finger out to the side to crease the 2 side points. Alright, so now we have a square shape. The square shape has an open side, and the square shape has a closed side. Now this is important. If we do this with the open side towards us and start folding, we are heading in the direction of a crane. And I make tons and tons of cranes. And it is so often that when I'm sitting there mindlessly watching TV and folding things for friends, that I will intend to make a crane and end up with a flower, or I'll intend to make a flower and end up with a crane because I'm not paying attention and I'm holding this in the incorrect direction. So it's important for the flower to have the open side away from you. Keep the closed side towards you and the open side of all of this away from you. So now we're going to do the same thing 4 times in a row. We're going to do a symmetrical shape and the exact same set of folds 4 times in a row. So it doesn't matter where you start because we're going to end up doing this to all of the different points. So lay it down with the open side away from you and take one of these points. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this long side, it's a folded side, and we're going to fold that over so it lines up with this center line. So here, I'll show you slowly. We're going to take this and we're going to fold it up in half. See how that lays up on the center folded line there? So we're going to take that, line it up. I sometimes put one of my fingers down in here to help fold around that corner piece. And once you get that along the line, then make a little crease in the middle of the fold and then slide your finger out and slide it down. And what we should have created here is one little fold with the open part away from you, folded down into a triangle. Alright, so let's do the second point. So the second point, this side here is going to go in towards that centerpiece. Again, I tend to stick my finger down in this to give it something to rotate around. See how I sort of hold that and pinch it a little? So we fold this around and we lay this down so that that edge that was over there is now on the center line. And then I drag a finger down and I drag a finger up. Alright, so now we've got 2 pieces folded in, and then we have 2 pieces still unfolded. So now we're going to rotate this around. Again, always make sure you keep the open side away from you. We're going to take this long side and fold it over to that center line. I put the finger down in there to help keep track of where it's turning. Lay that flat, give it a little crease in the middle, and drag that up, and drag that down. And then the same thing with this fourth side. We'll take this long side here. It's going to fold up towards that middle part. So I get my fingers underneath it, stick a finger in there to help it turn, and fold that up so that it meets on the center line. Drag it to the point, drag it to the top. So now we've got a kite shape with the open side on top that has a pair of lines matching on this side, and I'll turn it over, and a pair of lines matching on the other side. Usually if you've made a mistake at this point, it's that you didn't have the open side pointing away from you, that you somehow turned things so that it was pointing towards you. So just make sure that you have a kite shape that has 2 folds on one side and then 2 folds on the other side. It should be symmetrical. Alright, so once you've got that, we're going to do the next step of the folds, and this will also be 4 of the same fold done to these 4 triangle folds that we just made. Alright, so for each of these we're going to do a preparatory fold to help make sure the creases can fold and sit flat. So we're going to take one of these pieces that we folded, and if we lift that piece up toward the sky, toward the ceiling, there's a fold on one side, but the other side isn't fully folded. So we're going to fold down flat. This is just preparatory, just to give it a crease. So what we're aiming for is that this piece that can point towards the sky is folded on one side and folded on the other side. Sorry about the phone. You know, I have that thing set to mute, and for some reason it refuses to not ring. Alright, so fold on one side, fold on the other side. Now I'm going to turn this around so the pointy side is away from me, because what we're going to do now is we're going to open up the 2 sides of this fold, we're going to stick our finger in there, and let me hold this up so you can see what we're doing. So this is the fold that we creased on both sides, and now if we stick our finger in there, there's a pocket in there. See how there's a pocket in there that we created? So I'm going to get the pocket started by sticking my finger into its depths, and now if I push down on the middle spine of this, see how it's going to fold down into a shape that has a white triangle at the top, or whatever your backside of your paper is. So we're going to fold the center line of this shape down onto the center line of the whole set of paper. We'll crease that, and then we'll crease the two side things. Alright, so take that first one slow, and maybe if you have to rewind once or twice to get a sense of how that is happening, because we're going to do this 3 more times in a row, so it's good to figure out how this is working. But here, I'll show you another one so you can see. Doesn't matter which one you do, because we're going to do all 4. So you take any one of the folded over triangle pieces and you temporarily unfold it. And we want to point this at the sky. And it's currently folded in one direction, but you want to give it a crease in the opposite direction so that this next folding part goes smoothly. So we're just temporarily creasing it so it has a crease one way and it has a crease the other way. And then we're going to stick a finger into the middle part of it to get that to open. And again, I'll show you. So we're making that part open up like that. And if we get our finger all the way down into it, we should be able to get this top spine to collapse down onto the center part of it all. Run our finger down to crease that, run our finger up to crease that end, run our finger to crease that end. So we've got a color triangle, whatever our main color is going to be, and then the backing color is in the top in a separate triangle. Alright, so we've done 2 out of the 4. So now we're going to fold through the pages to look for another one that hasn't been done yet. Here's one that has the folded over piece that we need to work on. So again, we're going to make sure that we crease it in both directions so that it's ready for the next squash fold. And so once we've got that creased in both directions so that it stands up towards the ceiling pretty steadily, we're going to put our finger into the middle to fluff that out. It should naturally, with those creases, now be able, when we press down with the spine, to come down towards that center piece. You can drag a finger one way, drag a finger down one side, drag a finger down the other side. So now we've got 3 out of the 4 of them done. And if we go paging through these, we will find the remaining piece that still has the folded over piece that we're looking for. So again, we need to crease this one way, crease this the other way, so that it's prepared for the squashing part. And now we've got it so we can point up towards the sky. We can put our finger into the open end and put our finger all the way down to get that to come open. And now if we gently press down on the spine, then we get that to collapse. We drag a finger to the pointy end, drag a finger one way, drag a finger the other way. And now we have all 4 ends done. So if we go paging through this like a book, we'll have an open part that has the pattern side and the non-pattern side, and then we'll have a side that has all pattern, and then another side that's pattern side and the non-pattern side, and then another part that is all pattern. So that's the layout that you're looking for. The top is open, and it's sort of like pointy down, pointy down, pointy down, pointy down, and the bottom should be completely closed. All of the edges to there are closed on the bottom part, because that's going to be the bottom part of the flower down there. Alright, so next up, put your piece down so that it is got a patterned part, or whatever your darker side of the paper is that you want to be on the outside, and then the part that is the inside of the paper has a section up at the top, and the open side is facing away from you. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to work on the petals. So we're going to take this side and fold it down to come against this middle line here. So we're going to take this side here, the top side against the back of the paper, and fold it around so that it lays down against that center line there. And we're going to do this bunches of times, so you're going to get good at this activity, or at least you'll get more practices at this activity. And you can hold it in whatever direction is easiest for you to work this fold, because I know now the folds are getting smaller and smaller as we go. So again, what we're doing is taking the open side of the back of the paper and we're folding it over to match the center line. And again, I usually put a finger down in the place where it's rotating around to help it rotate a little bit if you're having trouble with that. And then press it down in place, run a finger towards the point, run a finger towards the other side. Alright, so you should end up a piece that has these two flaps that have come together over here. And we're going to do this 4 more sets of times. So find another area where you've got the back of the paper and then the bottom of the shape is the outside of the paper. We're going to fold this edge piece over and have it come towards the center line. So again, usually I'll stick a thumbnail or something in there, let it crease in one direction, let it crease in another direction. I'm going to take this edge of the back of the paper, fold it over towards the center line, get it to lay along the center line there, slide a finger towards the top, slide a finger towards the bottom. So that's 2 out of 4 that are done. Turn the pages until you find another set where you've got the back of the paper and the front of the paper. We're going to take this side and move it over towards the center line. Slide your fingers to crease. Take the other side and you're going to move that over to the center line. Slide your fingers to crease. Alright, and then if you go through the pages, you should be able to find, hold on, it came open while I was unfolding it. You should be able to find one more where you still have the back of the paper and the front of the paper. So we're going to take this side and fold it over to the center line. And then we're going to take this side and fold it over to the center line. Alright, so now you should have a high diamond shape, and it should alternate between pages that are completely smooth with just the outside and pages which are all the outside but has this fold in the top of it. And then completely smooth, and then all the outside but has this fold in the top. And again, this is symmetrical, so it does not matter at all where we start with this next part of the process. This is going to seem a little tricky at first, so it's fine to take this slow and to give it a couple practice tries to figure out what you're doing. So we're going to lay it down so that we have the 2 flap pieces at the top of the paper away from us and the bottom of the flower pointing down towards us. So we're going to point the 2 flaps up towards the ceiling. We're going to stick our finger in here. I know that this is going to seem tricky. Stick your finger in this open spot. Alright, see how when you gently pull that down, the sides naturally fold in along the creases. It's good to make sharp creases, because the sharper the creases you make, the more that the paper will naturally move along those crease lines to help you fold. So it's fine to do this from whatever direction feels best for you to get your finger in there and to be able to see what you are doing. What you are aiming to do, as you see when you pull this, how this opens up into a, let's say, diamond kind of shape maybe, is there's going to be a crease point down here towards the bottom of the flower that when you pull this back, and you may have to wiggle this a little to figure out where that crease point is, you want these two parts to then lay flat. And you'll see when you push those flat that the rest of this will come together. Let's see if I do it this way too. When you push those two at the top flat, the rest of those come together, and there will be a point on the bottom section that it will fold over to allow those to come together to a point. And you will end up with a shape that looks like this, that has a little triangle part in the bottom and has the two flap parts up here in the top. So we're going to do this 3 more times. So if that didn't quite make sense, you could watch it another time or two and then rewind and start it again and get a sense. So this is tricky, except that it's going to be tricky and that it will take a little practice to figure out exactly how this works. So you take any of the 4 sides, we're going to do it to all 4 sides so it doesn't matter, where it has the 2 flap parts, and we're going to point those 2 flap parts up toward the ceiling. We're going to stick a finger into the middle of all of this, and as we pull that away from the top, the 2 sides will naturally come in towards each other. And the aim is to have all of these come in towards each other and lay flat. So there's a point on the bottom part where that crease needs to be in order for all of this to come together. And it's fine to do this slowly. Let me just turn a little this way so you can see. If you get the 2 points of the top to lay flat and then start to push this paper in a little, you will see where the point is that it needs to bend in order for those pieces to lay down. Once you get to that point, then you can flatten it out, and now you've got yourself the trapezoid shape. Alright, so take it slow. It's fine to go back and forth until you figure it out. Alright, you turn the pages until you find another place where you've got the 2 flaps. So we're going to take these 2 flaps, we're going to point them towards the sky. We're going to stick our finger in to the middle. We're going to lay the 2 sides down so that they come down towards that center line. We're going to gently push in on the underneath to find the crease point where all of this works out properly. And we're going to lay things down, and maybe you go a little up, and maybe you go a little down. We go a little left and right until you find the spot where, oh, not quite there, where when they all lay down, everything lines up along the center point. Alright, we've got 1 more to go. So again, see how there's an open spot and there's a triangle spot. There's an open spot and a triangle spot. So somewhere in here, if we turn the pages, we're going to find a spot where it still has the 2 folds. We point those up towards the ceiling. We stick our finger in the middle to get it to start pulling open. Our aim is to get those 2 sides to come down, and then we gently push in on the underside until we find the point where everything will fold down flat and go along that center point. Alright, so like I said, it's fine to take your time with that part. That's the hardest part of all of this, and once you get that done, we are in the home stretch. So now you should have a section with a point that's down, and then if we turn a page, it'll be completely flat. And then we turn a page, there's a section with a point that's down. We turn the page, it's completely flat, and so on. So what we've got here is we've got the open part, which are going to turn into the petals. And then we've got the bottom part, which is going to turn into the base of the flower. So next we are going to open to any page that has a triangle pointing down, and all we are going to do is fold that triangle up. We're going to turn to another page with the triangle pointing down, and we're just going to fold it so that triangle is up. We're going to page through, find another triangle that's pointing down, fold it so the triangle is up. Find another triangle that's pointing down and fold it so that it points is up. So that part is fairly straightforward. So this is what we've got here. And this is what we are working towards here. So you can sort of see how you've got the petal shapes and how we are going to move towards, and see we've got these little center points which are going to move towards being that. Alright, so next what we're going to do is we're going to look through the pages, and we're going to take a page which does not have a triangle in it. So see how this other page has a triangle in its middle? We're going to turn until we get a page which is completely flat. There's no triangle at all. And on this page, we're going to fold the edge into the center and the other edge into the center. It doesn't matter which one we're on, because we're going to do this to all four. So we're going to take this edge, we're going to fold it over to line up onto that center point. And again, what I tend to do is put my fingernail in there to give it something to rotate around. We're going to take this other edge and fold it into the center. Doesn't matter which one you do first, because we're going to do all four. Alright, so see how we've got a shape that's a top of the leaf there, and then, or the petal, and then the two edges which are going to be the part of the base of the flower. Alright, so we're going to go to any other page that is completely flat, no triangles. We want to work on the flat parts. Take the edge and move it in towards the center. Take the other edge, move it in towards the center. Alright, so again we got the two edges pointing towards the center, and we got the top petal shape. We're going to turn some pages until we find another place where it's completely flat and no triangle. We're going to take an edge and go in towards the center. I know it's easy to get mixed up with top and bottom, but make sure the top has the part that's open with all the petals. The bottom should be solid, which is the base of the flower. So on the solid base of the flower side, we're folding the edge into the center. Then we will turn through our pages and find the final place, which is not a triangle. We'll put our edge into the center, and then put the other edge into the center. Unfolded while I was turning things. Alright, so now we should have a shape that looks like this, and that has a bunch of the narrow parts, then a bunch of the petal parts. So on a page that has the two folds, well here I'll show you. So some of the pages have a triangle part that's visible, and then other of the pages have no triangle part and they have the two sides going into the center. So on a page that has the two sides going into the center, we're going to fold the petal down to reveal the inner of the flower. We're going to go to any other page that has the two side pieces going to the center and fold a petal down. We're going to open to any other page that has the two side pieces going to the center. We're going to fold the petal down. And then we'll go to the remaining page that has the two sides into the center. And we're going to fold the petal down. So we have one petal, two petals, three petals, four petals, and then those are the little pointy bits of the flower in the inside. And the flower is now set. And if you want to use a pipe cleaner or another kind of center stem, you just stab it down through the middle like this, pull it through, and then I like to put just a little bend at the top to make it harder for it to just yank out. And that will now be a flower that is set. So this is the iris formation where the petals are straight out. If you want to curl them to make it more like a lily, then you take a pencil and you just roll the tip of the petal around the pencil, and you could roll it more to get it to curl more. You can roll it less to get it to curl less. Get this to roll around. And the fourth one. So this is a great way to make a single flower for someone, a bouquet of flowers, real flowers die off, origami flowers last forever, and plus they're handmade, so that's always a nice part of the gift. So that's more of a lily kind of shape, and you can get, orange lilies and red lilies, whatever kinds of colors that you want to. So there is how to make an origami lily or iris flower. Let me know if you have any questions.